guys, what's up? And welcome to episode 2 of the Supercast. Once again, I'm here with my boy, Aaron Anthony. Aaron, say hello.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
This week, we're going to talk about the Danny Hype Octagon event that happened this week. We're going to talk about some predictions we have for the red spoilers. We're going to talk about the red spoilers that we did see. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about judging and what to expect for next week as well. Also, I have a special announcement I'm going to announce at the end of this Supercast. So that's something that's pretty cool. But before we get started, before we get into all this stuff, one thing I do want to say, actually two things. Number one is, guys, feel free to ask questions and stuff in chat, but we will get to you guys at the end of the episode when we do our FAQ. Number two is we have a little bit of kind of an announcement, not really an announcement, but more something we want to talk about. And that is, I know a lot of people have been asking about the spoilers that some shops, unfortunately, and this is a huge unfortunately, have been opening up their packs and then spooling cards. And I've had a lot of people ask us if we're going to talk about those cards in this cast. And I want, Aaron and me will both kind of explain why we're staying away from those spoilers and why it's probably a good idea for you two as well. And so, Aaron, I'll let you kind of start off with this. This is more of your specialty. But again, I think it's something very important that we just want to kind of quickly talk about before the show starts.
Yeah, so in terms of like the spoilers, I know I did see him. A lot of people saw him too. I was excited just like anybody else. But at the same time, we want to keep the integrity of the group, knowing that these packs are being released and opened by stores or whoever when they're really supposed to be for the players. So basically, Bandai is sending 16 or 32 set 2 packs to stores for free, for this event. So when people are coming to these stores, they're expecting, hey, I could potentially get a free pack. And what happens is when these packs and these spoilers are being opened and they're being posted into the group, I feel like it's the duty of the admin team to really know that we're not condoning the images right now until, Saturday or so when the stores are actually having these events.
Right.
Anything before that, they're already opening up packs, which each pack can be used for a player who is expecting to come and potentially get one. So basically, we're condoning, I would say, stealing in a sense, knowing that the stores are robbing certain players of these packs that they're expected to be shown. And again, I've been getting some mixed reactions about it. Some people just don't understand, but you could imagine if you would go to a store and then you would come and think, hey, I can get a set 2 booster pack, not realizing, oh wait, just kidding, my store opened them and they put them on our group and everyone's liking it. That's right. Not what we kind of want to promote. A lot of people don't realize that Bandai does look at our group, and we want to set an example to Bandai and to ourselves to really show that, we don't mind the discussions of the cards, but you want to make sure that it's done rightfully so. Anything before that is not really condoning that because, again, we're just basically promoting people to, or encouraging other people to just open up packs, because what stops other people to be like, hey, let me just open up these packs and kind of show them to everybody because our group allows it, so it's okay.
Right.
I feel that's the message that we're kind of sending if we just allow these packs being opened in the images before their time, prematurely. And that's something I don't want to be a part of. And, I know people don't like it, but again, it's not about what, you might or people might want to kind of discuss and see. It's more so about, we have a lot of store owners in our group as well. And it's not really sending a good message if I'm saying it's okay for stores to open up their packs. And just because people like it, it's okay to do so.
Right. I mean, good. I'll take it from a little bit of a different approach, and I'll kind of explain. I've had a lot of people ask me, why haven't I done a video on them, or why haven't I talked about them? And similar to you, I don't want to promote this behavior, and it's not only just for me being noble or for a different cause. It's honestly like you got to think about Bandai. Almost every other game I've ever played, they charge stores for these pre-release packs. Like Magic, you have to pay for your pre-release packs. For Force of Will, that's again something you have to pay for. And Bandai is promoting this game and pushing this game out. And honestly, it's a huge slap in their face if they look in the group or look on Reddit and they see that everybody just opened them for free and is doing out spoilers, right? So that makes it so, maybe they won't do it next time. Maybe for set 3, they'll just be like, what, screw you guys. There isn't any pre-release events, We're putting our hard and, time and money to send you guys promo packs or these pre-release packs, and you guys are just opening them up and putting them on Facebook. That doesn't send a very good message for our game. To not only the creators but honestly to new players, right? Like you said, and if you're a new player and you're excited about this game and you see that all the stores just open them up and sell singles or just spoil the cards, like you're not going to want to play this game. You're going to go play a different game, and that's it's a big deal. It is. It's a huge deal for our game. And while I don't want to sound like we're like lecturing you guys. If you guys want to look at the spoilers, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, it's been something that's hard for me not to, honestly. But still, that's just our stance, and that's kind of something I wanted to quickly cover before we got into the episode. Is how we feel as from a YouTube creator and from an admin of a Facebook group. I think we both kind of took this stance, and that's why we just wanted to share it with you guys and kind of let you guys know what we thought and how we. I do not condone it. And I really feel like it's a bad thing to do, guys. It looks bad for our community. It makes us look like we don't care. And I think us standing up for this and having other players to stand up, lets us send a message to Bandai, lets us send a message to those stores that are greedy enough to do this, and let them know that, hey guys, this isn't okay, and this isn't something that we're going to condone or cover.
Yeah, and then just to lastly leave with this is, you got to expect, it's a new set. A lot of people also excited about the leaders that are coming here. Like, a lot of people are excited to maybe play Goku Black or at least, get a hands on something set 2-wise, and to know every image that is leaked before its time is a pack that's being taken away from that player. So imagine if it was you, where you're expecting to go to your battle shop and then you realize, look, there's no more packs because they've all been opened already. How would you feel? People got to really put themselves in other people's shoes, because that can easily be you. If you think it's okay for packs to be opened kind of prematurely, and us kind of condoning it by saying then what stops someone from taking your pack and then just opening it up right in front of you and be like, oh, I'm going to post it on the group, and well, who cares? Because if you think it's cool for it to be done to someone else, then it should be cool to be done to you, which people wouldn't want, obviously. Right, so, right, exactly. It's just, again, once Saturday comes, that's when a lot of the stores are going to be having their events. And then, it's people can talk and discuss the packs during that time. But before then, I don't want it in the group. So
yeah, definitely. Well, guys, that's it for that topic. Just let everybody know. Also, guys, something else I want to talk about before we get into the thing. I've had a lot of feedback and you guys asking me to put the show on iTunes as a podcast, and I want to let everyone know I am going to do that. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it before, but probably after this weekend, because this week I'm super busy. But next week I'm gonna have a little window of like time to be able to work on some stuff. I'll try to make sure I get these episodes on iTunes as quickly as possible for you guys that want to listen to it. Maybe not live, want to listen to it, I guess on their way to work or whatever. So, all right, guys. So the first event we're going to talk about is the Danny Hype. I think he called it the Hyperbolic event, which was an Octagon-based event that happened this weekend. I think it was like one of the bigger events that happened this weekend. He had invited me there to do commentating. Me and him both commentated the event. It was a blast. If you guys haven't checked out Danny Hype, make sure you check him out on YouTube. It's YouTube/Danny Hype. Fantastic guy, awesome player. And we had an amazing time running this event. And kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit about this is kind of the top 4 decks. I love talking about meta discussion. I know Aaron, as a judge, you're the same way, right? You love talking about this stuff. And I want to kind of go over, kind of the decks that got top 4 and where you guys can find these deck lists out. And so you guys can always find the deck lists for this event, for these Danny Hype events at DBS headquarters, and it should be the first thing you can click to. The deck that took the event was Mono Blue Vegeta, which is a very interesting build of that we'll talk about here in just a second. The deck that got second was Jordan's version of the Ginyu green, yellow, blue deck, the Tricolor Ginyu deck, which was a fantastic deck. This player made a couple changes to the deck, but still a very powerful deck. Third place was super exciting to me. I actually love this deck. It was Blue-Red Vados deck, which is super cool. It's something I want to talk a little bit about talk to you about. And then the last deck was the Blue-Green Super Saiyan God Goku deck, which is, in my opinion, the second best deck in the format. But we'll get into that in just a second. So what do you think about these results, Aaron? You think that's I guess I can say I'm surprised. Not so much Vegeta that won, but more so Mono Blue, because everyone's kind of doing their cute thing with yellow, blue Vegeta or Broly Engine Vegeta. Right. So you really find people actually kind of just sticking to Mono Blue. So that in itself was
really surprising. And I think it's cool because it actually gives or utilize, I should say, its awakened side effect where if you have 7 or more blue energy, it gets plus 10,000, I believe. So something that doesn't really see much play outside of mono blue itself, because everyone's usually splashing another color.
Right.
So I think that effect probably also was very underrated for a lot of people. Probably went going into it and kind of took a lot of people by surprise because they realized, man, like I forgot that he gets plus 10 because people just usually use the effect just to take a life and get the crit. But crit on top of 25 is pretty deadly. Not to mention it can also be game ending. So if you combo with that with the further destruction Champa, 35. Double crit, that's pretty big damage and can really swing games. So I thought that was really cool for the Vegeta deck to really just stick with mono blue.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll start with the first place deck, which was ran by Eddie. Again, you can see all the players' names, all that stuff at DPS headquarters as well. Like you said, it was a very interesting deck because I'll tell you something that I always kind of known was really strong. And I never, I've tried it with some decks, never really kind of, I guess, went all in on the concept. But that was, he just ran a bunch of one-cost battle cards that replaced themselves. So he ran Boo, he ran Bulma, and he ran Goku. And it's like, they're essentially just a bunch of free cards. So he would play them out, and he would sometimes have 8-9 cards in hand, plus 5 or 6 cards on the field, and that adds up. That's a big deal. And he essentially just used Vegeta to, essentially end the game. And what would happen a lot, especially against the Ginyu deck, is that, Ginyu really wants to stop your threats from doing anything and then killing them and then kind of overrunning you with, multiple threats on board. But, his Cold Bloodlusts and his Crusher Balls were kind of dead cards in hand, because, there was nothing for him to really hit except, Bulmas and Gokus and then, or Boos. And then, he would just win with, giant. I think one of the games he got to, 155,000 crit or something. It was just
that's insane.
It was literally his whole hand.
That's pretty good.
It was insane. And like I said, that's a very, cool concept for a deck.
Agreed. I mean, like you said, the one drops I think really put in a lot of work, especially right now in the first set. Like I said, I like to call them floaters because they're cards that give you card value and they're basically plus ones because every card that you play, you lose a card from your hand, but they replace themselves and they stay on the field. So in the Vegeta mirror matches, they're also key because they're free 5Ks that you can kind of chuck. So that way you can kind of nullify or denying your opponent the critical ability while still being able to trigger your effect and getting as much cards off as possible. So, I like that. The fact he also used the Kind Saiyans on Goku in conjunction with the Bowman, probably Boo and some other stuff.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I mean. I mean, in every game that I've ever played with leaders, that can attack or do something, there's always these kind of decks that prop up, and they're kind of what I call leader decks, and they literally just want to win with their leader. In WoW, the WoW card game, they would put weapons on their leaders and stuff and try to win with just their leader. And this game's no different. With Vegeta, he's actually strong enough to where you can just build your deck, completely around him, and that's what's happened. I know it was really funny when the lists were posted in the group. There was a lot of people how does the Vegeta deck win? And it's oh yeah, with Vegeta, he just literally wins with Vegeta, and that's that's a very he showed that it was a viable strategy, and it was really exciting to see him kind of win. And most of his games only lasted 10-15 minutes too. He would just literally just run people over with Vegeta, awesome. So it was pretty cool. Okay, so the second place deck was Jordan's green, yellow, blue, tricolor Ginyu deck. We talked a lot about this last week, so I don't want to go into too much detail with this. Just that it's a very powerful deck. One thing that this player did differently, I want to get his name because I don't want to just say this player he's not a real person. Well, actually, it's just his in-game name, so never mind. He ran King Vegeta Surprise Attack in the deck, and that's a card I think is maybe just a little bit undervalued, I guess. I mean, it's a very strong card, and I know especially whenever your main threat in your deck is Super Saiyan Gotenks. That card, brings a lot of pressure on your opponent, and it also is a big threat for your opponent to want to attack into. They want to get this off the field because this is a 25,000 double striker is nothing to laugh at. And he blew so many people out by just being they'll be oh, I'll attack you with my guy, and he's cool, King Vegeta surprise attack, kill your dude, and my guy survives. It's oh my gosh, for one energy, that's a big deal. And so, what do you think about this card?
I mean, I think it's great. I know Victor Studio is the guy who played the Beerus deck at the 1K in New York. he was also saying to use it with blockers, which is really cool, especially like the full power Frieza that every time after battle it basically restands and would have revenge, which was cute. What's really good about that, which I really like the fact that he played that card, especially in Gotenks, because Gotenks guarantees that you're going to be playing it because you untap 2 energy.
Right.
So you can always untap 1 green definitely, and 1 blue, depending like on what deck you're playing. If you have a Sensu Bean or a Whisk Corrosion. So or Coercion, I should say. Sorry, but yeah,
I can't say that name right. I'll say it different every time.
Yeah, Whisk Coercion. I think.
I'm just hoping that eventually I'll say it right. That's why I just say something different.
Right, exactly. So Gotenks already making that card live. I think that's a very good combo. And again, something that you really don't see at all. I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing about it, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense because Gotenks is a really strong card, being 25k for 5 energy, basically 3 because it untaps 2. You draw a card and has double strike. I think it does. I think we were talking about this last week how it does so much.
Yeah, I think we'll be talking about this card for many weeks to come because it's
it should definitely be at least like 15k or something, or it's just really really beefy.
Right.
So 25 is nothing to scoff at, especially in set 1, knowing that other cards for that curve doesn't really give you the 25k. So you really either have to overextend or like hopefully have a Beerus or something like that to kind of get rid of it. So to really protect your Gotenks is, I think, genius, and it's really good just control-wise as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good in the Gotenks battle too. When you're playing against the Goku decks, like you said, a lot of people just try to trade their especially Goku players. They'll try to trade their Gotenks because they know that they can replace it with their Goku on tap, and they don't care to try to kill yours. And if you kill theirs, it's okay. There's still a threat up. And so yeah, I mean it's very smart. It's a very smart inclusion. So that was the cool, I guess, takeaway from that deck. One of the neat changes. But and then the next deck, which was I think the coolest deck there, which was the blue-red Vados deck. I mean, Vados is, in my opinion, I've played against Vados a couple times, and I feel like every time I play against her, she's always way better than I expect her to be. You know what I mean? Like you see her, and you're like, oh, who's this nerd? Vados, whatever. No one plays this hero.
Yeah, right.
And then like at about turn 3, you're like, gosh, why do more people not play this leader? In my opinion, it's probably because she doesn't have a very reliable way to awaken. It's hard to get her awoken. It's really hard for her to kind of. But once she does get awakened, or if you're playing like Hand Destruction, that's been the deck that I've made for Gen Con. That's been my favorite deck to play, and she really punishes that deck by killing off Broly's before they can get evolved. By pressuring your like Boos and Goku so they can't evolve or get card advantage from. And she's a very deceptively powerful leader. What do you think?
Yeah, since I don't really play that much because I judge for the majority. The deck I actually just have fully built is, I kind of took it apart because I'm just waiting for set 2, but it was a red-green Vados deck, and I just love Vados or Vados, however you want to pronounce it, just as the ability to really attack battle cards, and sorry my throat, I'm still kind of a little sick from last week. Yeah, so I was slowly getting over there, a little bit better, but nonetheless, Vados, very strong card. I mean, the ability to attack active battle cards is, I think, really huge tempo wise. Can really swing games when your opponent's trying to set up some kind of evolve or something like that. You can kind of take care of that threat immediately without waiting for them to either attack or wait for some kind of removal. So she's just like a walk-in attacking stick that can really kind of kill everything. And comboed, I'm not sure if the deck played any like promo Gokus or anything in the build.
Let me check. I'll check and see if I don't think so. It might have. I don't see them. No, it didn't. No promo Gokus. But I don't think it didn't run. It didn't run Vados either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. But I was thinking in general with my friend, he played a red blue Vados, and you combine that with Sensu Bean. We can do get over a lot of problematic cards, especially in this game that there's no real board wipe per se for like battle cards in general besides Gohan. So to be able to potentially kill certain threats off the board, I think is just really really strong.
Oh no, it is, and I'll tell you, something else that's pretty strong is like once she gets awoken too, she has the ability to essentially draw a card every time. Without having to pressure the leader. So like if you stall them out, you can still draw a card as long as they have a threat in play, and that's a very very powerful ability to have, because that's kind of the way that you offset it. I know tomorrow I'll be releasing my deck profile for my new deck that I've been playing a lot, and it's a Galactic Emperor Frieza deck. And a lot
Nice.
of I'm telling you, I think this leader is unbelievably powerful. But one of the ways I awaken in the deck, I use Kaba, but if I don't have Kaba, is honestly I just awaken my opponent as fast as possible, and then it puts them in a situation where I'm the only target, my leader is the only target they have to attack, and so they have to awaken me, right? Or if they don't, they just they don't get to draw a card every turn, and then my 15,000 attackers put pressure on them, and so they start losing card advantage. And so what happens is Vados just gets around that completely. She's like, oh, you're stalled out, cool. I'll just start taking out your battle cards, and I can still draw cards. I can still get ahead. And I'll tell you, I think that's one of the first times I realized how powerful she was. Is whenever I was testing the deck for the deck profile, I was playing on Octagon. I went up against somebody playing Vados, and I was like, oh my god. Like, she counters my entire strategy. Like, she's literally and so it was pretty scary. I mean, she's a very, very powerful leader.
Exactly, like you said, that point about being able to pressure every turn, draw a card potentially, without having to attack the leader. So it's a really good tempo kind of leader. I would say mid-range tempo kind of leader, because it really either way you can always attack the leader if you wanted to, if you have to be aggressive, or if you want to be a little bit more controlly, you can always just attack the battle cards and kind of wait for your opportunity to strike. So I really like that versatility in that aspect alone.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. And then finally, we have the last one. And again, we talked a little about this last week, but I actually, built this deck for a friend this weekend, and we've been playing a little bit more in our group, which is the Super Saiyan God Son Goku green-blue version. Which, in my opinion, going into this event that we had this week at my locals, one of my buddies is playing the 3-color Ginyu, and I was trying to think of a way to beat the deck. And I decided to go with this. I decided, I was like, hey guys, let's try to, build this deck and see if it can win. And honestly, I still think the Tri-Color Ginyu deck just beats this deck. But the deck is very powerful. In my version, I actually ran 3 Light of Hope Trunks, and that way my leader would be a little bit more powerful, so I can try to pressure Ginyu with just my leader instead of all my threats. But yeah, I mean, it's a scary deck. Essentially what the deck wants to do is it wants to play out Super Saiyan Gotenks as a threat, untap 2, attack with Goku, untap 2 more, and then play another threat out. And so it's trying to, it's like the typical mid-range deck, right? It wants to play a bunch of 4 and 5 drops and just overwhelm you with these big, powerful battle cards that you can't beat. What do you think? Have you seen it all in your locals, or seen the green?
Yeah, it's the only deck that's really winning in my locals.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we have 2 players that played extremely well. It's almost guaranteed to top any event, whether it be local or kind of something big. It's just because, like I said, it's a solid deck. To be able to make your Gotenks a 1-drop is, just unheard of. And to play another one, it's, and it really utilizes the best of 2 colors, because you have the results of training if you need to awaken, or you also have Furious Yell Vegeta as your backup as well. So you have a lot of cool different interactions in terms of that alone. You have some people play Awaken and Rage Goku for some popping. You have the Beerus for more board control. So you have a lot of different things. You have the Gotenks for hand control. So it's really coupled with a lot of the best green cards pretty much, and the really best blue cards. And it's just an overall solid deck. And then, not to mention, I think Goku gaining 5k puts a lot of pressure as well, forcing your opponent to drop a 10 every turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and that version, like I said, I have Furious Yell in there. I mean, not Furious Yell, what the heck? Light of Hope Trunks in there too, so he's actually at 25k every time he attacks. And you can just get so many cards out of your opponent, because once he's at 25k, they can't survive with a Piccolo, right? Like 0 cost 10,000. They have to use that in a card. And it just really starts putting a lot of pressure on them. So, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, that card is, that leader is super, I think at the beginning he was super underrated. No one played him. They didn't realize how good he was. And I think as we've, kind of seen the meta evolve, he's going to be fantastic. And he's going to be even more fantastic moving into set 2 once we have more and more threats as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a good example of a good combo. It's weird to where he kind of falls in terms of aggro, control, mid-range, combo, or something like that. Because, with one energy, if you have multiple 1-drops, you can play 2 1-cost cards for 1 energy, which is huge, because you can just pay 1, play Boma, search, attack, untap, play Boo, draw a card. Plays like that is just pretty disgusting. So to be able to play, 2 cards, get 2 cards in hand, have 2 cards on the field, all for one energy is pretty insane.
Oh, I know. I mean, there's that deck has so many insane, plays. Like you said, it can go like Gotenks into another Gotenks into Gotenks attacking into Sensu Beans into like another Gotenks or another big threat. I mean, it's not. I mean, I've played 4 threats out in one turn before, and it's just like absurd. Like no other deck can do that. You know what I mean? It's just insane. It's a very, very powerful deck. And so anyway, guys, that's it for the Danny Hype tournament analysis. Like I said, guys, it was a fun event, amazing. If you haven't checked out Danny Hype, go check him out. He's on YouTube. You can go to YouTube. It'll be in the show notes description for the YouTube video, but like please go check him out. He's a fantastic guy, a great player, great commentator, great dude all around. No, I cannot say enough about him. He's awesome. Okay, so up next we're going to talk about red predictions. So this is something, Aaron, you want to talk about, and we're kind of predicting maybe what leaders are coming up with the red cards, also maybe what kind of cards we would like to see. So I'll let you start this off, man. What are you predicting for red?
Yeah, so we all know the red leader, the rare red leader being Vegito. So we have 2 other leaders to follow. And since it's the theme of Majin Buu, I'm really hoping that Majin Vegeta would be one of them because he is a leader in the Japanese game. And, I guess the other one would probably be maybe like Babidi or something like that, or potentially Buu. But I know Buu, I don't think Buu would actually be a leader this set.
Oh, you don't think so?
Yeah, reason being, unless they make a new Buu, but the Buu that they have in the Japanese one, which a lot of the images have been like transferred over and in different card effects and whatnot, but the Buu on the Awakened side is Kid Buu. So even though it's still Majin Buu, the fact that the Awakened side doesn't correlate with the theme of this set, so I don't think we would see.
Oh, that's a good point.
Buu. We wouldn't see Buu unless they make a new Buu, and they either use like the same picture in the front and maybe like Piccolo absorbed or even Gohan absorbed in the back or something different, like or Super Buu Awakened. That's the only time I would see it. But if they are saving that for something later, I think Majin Vegeta should definitely be on there, and possibly like maybe Babidi. I would like to see like some of the I would say lesser, but like not as iconic characters in the game, because then that would really be
definitely, yeah. Well, I think if I think about leaders, I always think about essentially they have to progress, right? They have to like start somewhere, and then when they awaken, something has to happen. And so, for me, I think Buu does make a lot of sense, because he has a front side and he has a logical backside. With Majin Vegeta, what do you think his backside would be? I mean, because I actually hope they have a red Vegeta too. I'm actually expecting it. I mean, honestly, Goku has like 14 cards, right? It's about time for Vegeta to get a second one. So what do you think? Like, what do you think his backside would be if you have front Majin Vegeta? What would his front be just regular Vegeta, then he would flip into Majin Vegeta?
Yeah, so in the Japanese one, if they're most likely going to use the same image, it's Majin. So how we have the androids, how it has like 2 people on the front and then the androids on the back, and the same thing with the son Gohan, how it has Gohan and Goku on the front and then them doing the Kamehameha in the back. For the Majin Vegeta leader in the Japanese one, it was Vegeta and Babidi, like in the front, and then in the back it's Majin Vegeta like basically like powering up with Babidi like with his like
sounds cool. That sounds sick.
Yeah, with his like hands kind of like close to him, like kind of like manipulating his mind and whatnot. So if anything, it's probably just going to be like the same image from the Japanese one, which also correlates to how we're seeing the a lot of the leaders that have 2 images on the front and back. So
actually, on that note, I mean, it'd be really cool if they had Goten and Trunks on the front, and then it flipped over into Gotenks. That'd be super sick for a leader.
That'd be really cool as well.
That would be really cool. Yeah. So what else can we do? Because I feel like there needs to be like maybe a god, or like maybe something like maybe a bad. I've actually heard some rumors that they think that there might be some Frieza's army in red this set too. I've heard some people talk about that because there was none in yellow, and then it might be creeping over into red, so it can give that deck a dual color. Like, what do you think about that? You think that's possible, or?
Frieza's army, I'm trying to think like what Frieza's army guy would be, because again, this is like the Buu saga, so it's more so about the theme,
right?
So like we don't see any.
I guess at the very beginning of the Android saga, right? We see like Mecha Frieza, and we see King Cold, right? They die like essentially right at the beginning. Trunks kills him. So maybe like a Mecha Frieza card would be kind of neat. That'd be something different. Or maybe just a King Cold red. Yeah. But he seems pretty like I don't know. To me, like King Cold seems pretty. entrenched in yellow to me. I mean,
Yeah.
every single card we've seen, he's been in yellow, so it would be very unlikely to see him there. But it's something maybe it would be cool. I would like to see Frieza's army in a different color. Honestly, I would like to see something a little bit different for them.
Which I think is potential. So again, a lot of it really kind of follows the arcs of the show in the sense that what image that the card is taken from really translates to the arc of the show. So what I mean by that is if we look at the super rare Golden Frieza, that's blue, not yellow, which took me by surprise. I don't know if you know about that one. It's a 5-drop. It was
which card is it?
It's a Golden Frieza card. It's a 5-drop.
The blue one.
Yeah, the blue one.
Yeah, that one's sick. Yeah.
So that's an example of a Frieza card not being yellow but in blue. And if you notice, and if you look under, I think trait, he's not a Frieza army card. He's just Frieza clan.
Yeah. Because
at this point, Frieza's army is no longer, and it's just Golden Frieza. It's just Frieza, by himself. So King Cold is, you would notice that I don't think King Cold is Frieza's army. I think he's just a Frieza clan
He is
card.
just Frieza clan, yeah.
Yeah, so it really follows the fact that even though they're kind of Frieza related, they're not necessarily Frieza clan, which is very specific. So if anything, hopefully, we still have to see some more Zarbon and Dodoria's. I know Zarbon was a leader in the old game as well, so we'll have another.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have another Frieza's army leader, outside of Frieza and Ginyu, to really utilize Bloodlust. So I mean, it's we might see it in different colors. It's possible.
No, for sure. Some suggestions in chat, guys. Also, let us know in chat what you would like to see in red. What clan types you would like to see. Also, what kind of leaders you would like to see. Some suggestions. I see a lot of people are talking about Jiren. They want to see a Jiren leader, which again, I think this might be a little bit out of. Like you said, theme for the set. I don't think the set's necessarily a Jiren theme set, but honestly, they could be. I mean, we know that Jiren's getting a card, right? We know that's happening, and so maybe they might sneak him in as a leader. I mean, I think that would be absurd. I mean, oh my god, I can imagine how good he's going to be if how he is in the show is anything like it. Some other suggestions we see is get more Frieza stuff, some Gotenks. There's a T Faircloth with Gotenks, which I would love to see. We just talked about that as well. So yeah, I mean, I think red's going to be awesome. I'll tell you, just the Goku Gohan BCC promo has me thinking of so many different types of decks that you can build and stuff. So just with him and Boo and just so many other different synergies that we've seen through some of the spoiler videos and stuff, it has me very, very excited. Also, yeah, that'd be cool too. A Pride Trooper clan, maybe they'll show some Pride Troopers, which would be super cool. That would be something that would be neat, because you could do front and back that way, right? You could do a couple Pride Troopers on the front and then one on the back. What's the dude that looks? I always call him Wily, from Mega Man, but the dude that has the big hands and stuff. What's his name? Do you know?
Topo. Yeah,
Topo. That's it. Yeah. He would be a kind of a cool leader as well. He'd be something that would be neat. Also, it'd be kind of neat if we got the clown. God of Destruction too as a leader. That would be cool. Or just a card. I would love to see him. I think he is so cool. Yeah, definitely. Cool.
I think the possibilities are endless right now because, as you know, we already have Beerus and Champa. Nothing is stopping, Bandai from just making, all 12 gods of destruction a leader,
for sure.
Which would be really cool. So, a lot of material for days. Not to mention in the game, you can have 2 characters on one card. So that makes it a whole new leader in a sense. So you can have maybe Beerus and Champa together on a card, and then that can be another leader. So you can always, so you can mix and match a lot of characters, which makes it endless leaders. Because if you think about it, you have one Beerus leader, and then you have Beerus and Champa. That's another leader that they can potentially just make, because in the Japanese version, the Zamasu and the Future Trunks weren't leaders in the Japanese game, so there's something that they created. So it shows that they can also create leaders. Yeah. So they can also do Beerus and Whis. That's another leader. So there's a lot of potential mix and matching Bandai can really do to really just make this game last, or I would say a really long time. I mean, a really long time.
Oh no, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Something people are talking about too is we haven't seen anything really Namekian either, and so maybe there's some Namekian stuff in red. I think that would be really cool too to see that. Something that people really forget about the Piccolo card, which is the only Namekian we have so far. He's also a god, and honestly, blue and red seem to be the god colors, right? That's where all of our gods are currently, and so it's very possible we get maybe a Piccolo leader, maybe a god version of the Piccolo or whatever. Like you said, I mean the it's endless for what we could get. So it's really cool to see that. Oh, Bardock leader, that'd be really cool. Yeah, I'd love to see Bardock. That'd be super cool.
You know.
Bardock squad. Well, his card is really good too. His BCC card is like deceptively powerful. I'm telling you guys, it's such a good card.
Oh, so good, so good. I mean, I love how it doesn't have double strike because it really kind of changes how you attack. Because sometimes you don't always want to have like too much double strike cards in the sense that like they're really good late game, but early game if you don't want to push your opponent too far, at least with Bardock, you can kind of hit and it doesn't have to really push your opponent too far to awaken state, because you can just kind of change the tempo of how you want to deal damage. So I think it's good.
I'll tell you, my buddy was playing. We actually stuck to Bardock in our green blue Goku deck, and he was playing in the top 4, and we had a guy was playing. I think he was playing Champa, blue-red Champa, and he played out like 3 1-drop cards. There's a couple blockers preparing because he couldn't get through these Gotenks. And my buddy was just like, Bardock, kill all 3 of them. And he was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that card. It's like, that card's just so good. I mean, it's very deceptively good. Okay, so I think that's it, guys, for the red predictions. Still, let us know what your predictions are, and we'll still talk about them throughout the show, just moving along here a little bit. And up next, we're going to talk a little bit about the yellow spoilers that happened this week. So this is something we love to talk about, is the spoilers. Last week, we talked about the last week's spoilers. This week, we're going to get into the yellow spoilers. Now, the first thing I'll say about the yellow spoilers is I've seen a lot of people underrate these cards. They just look at these cards like, these aren't very good. These are kind of garbage. Yellow sucks. Guys, I'm telling you what, these are some of the most powerful cards we've seen released now. I mean, released so far. I mean, they're all so strong. It's opened up 2 new archetypes, which is an insane deal. But anyway, before I go all off and talk about how much I like them, what do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, they're not obviously the most, I guess, at least, I guess I don't know how to explain. Like initially, first reaction, like, oh my gosh, these are good. Right. I think yellow's always been the color that always took a little bit more effort to kind of
to make work.
I guess build, because it's not so obvious with certain things. A lot of stuff you have to really kind of fine tune. So, I mean, I like Chilled a lot, despite the fact that he does have like a low downside on the back. But I mean, I'm not like overly thrilled, but I want to see, because I feel like there was always something there with yellow that there's some kind of combination you can really make. It just probably takes a little bit more effort to kind of see it happen or make it happen.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, the big thing I'm excited about, and anybody who's watched my videos, shouldn't be surprised, and that's Chilled. I think that leader looks super cool. He awakens on 6. He makes tokens every time he attacks. There's cards in the set that kind of buff the tokens and stuff. Token strategies in general are always really popular in every game I've played. There's always people who love playing with tokens. And so, I mean, to me, that's super exciting. I think he opens up a new archetype. He really, gives new players something to grasp onto. Because honestly, guys, as far as card games go, everyone, gravitates towards a certain type of play style. And it's really cool that this game just keeps doing that. And what I love the most is that they tie the archetypes to leaders instead of cards. And that makes it a lot easier to balance, right? And so if we have something like Ginyu, who's very strong, you can start printing cards like Cold Bloodlust, for example, that only target certain types of leaders, and that way, it can make the less powerful ones more powerful, and it can help, kind of tune the balance, which is awesome from a game design standpoint. Also, Metacooler, something you just talked about, he opens up that dredge mechanic, being able to play from the drop zone, which is extremely powerful. That's an awesome, ability that people love playing with, and so to have those 2, archetypes opened up in this set, I think is exciting and would bring even more people into the game.
Agreed. I know, I guess in first thought, because you have people who probably not impressed with what Cooler might do, especially like the regular Cooler, in terms of milling. Mm-hmm. But I think once people kind of see everything, once we get the full set, again, a lot of it is just breakdowns of certain stuff. Even though we have all the rares, commons, and uncommons, we also should probably wait for the rest of like the super rares and what else, right, until the whole set's really released, to see like, oh, I see, that makes a lot of sense, kind of thing. Right. So yeah. I mean, sure, at first glance, I don't fault anyone for not really being taken back or having that wow factor compared to like blue and green. But I think it'll be more so once it's being played. Like, for example, no one ever would have expected Jordan's, yellow tricolored Ginyu, or to say tricolored Ginyu, to do so well, and it's because obviously Bloodlust and like key cards like that. But it does show the power that maybe yellow coupled with some other things can really be devastating. And,
for sure.
Just take some probably like more fine tuning, I would say, than like some blue deck.
Yeah, no, I mean, to touch on one point you said there, and something that I say all the time. A lot of people's been asking me, messaging me, asking me what I'm going to play in set two, what deck ideas do I have, and honestly, it may be the wrong thing to do, but I don't play test at all until I see the entire set, because we don't have any of the super rares like you just talked about, and because of that, it could really just drastically change an entire strategy. Again, we also don't know how tokens are going to work, right? I have no idea how Bandai is going to rule about tokens. Will they be zero cost like in other games? Will they have a cost associated with them? That's a big deal, because that's a big. I mean, Bardock has the ability just to come in and wipe all the tokens out, if they're a zero cost, and that's a big deal, right? That's like something that could make that strategy a lot weaker. You know what I mean? And so again, I like to see the whole set, and then I just grind into it. So like you said, it's very important to before you start judging a caller or talking about the stuff, to make sure we see the whole set first. I think that's very important, a very important thing to say.
Yeah, agreed. Just wait for the whole set to really kind of make the judgment. But again, I don't fault anyone for thinking how they do now. But
I'd say there's nothing wrong with being excited. No, for sure, I'm not trying to say that. But yeah, that's a big reason I don't get into it. And like you also said, there's a lot of these cards that may not look very powerful. And I feel like whenever you open up your first pack of Dragon Ball Super, you didn't go, "Oh my God, I got Cold Bloodlust, guys! Check this card out! Isn't it so cool?" Yeah. Like you're like, "What's this trash?" Whatever. I'm gonna look at these really cool, powerful cards that have my favorite characters on them, right? And then once you get used to the game, you start seeing how these cards that you didn't think were very good end up being some of the best cards in the set. And I think Yellow always has that effect on people.
Yeah, I mean, they have the two extra cards, one that can kill a rested battle card, which I love so much. Like, I was waiting for a card like that, to be honest with you, just because that opens up so many different plays with a lot of lines of play. I'm really excited to really see kind of Golden Frieza with these new additions. And then I think there's another card that I think I Beam or something like that.
The one that exhausts all your opponent's characters, battle cards, puts them on rest mode. Yeah.
And I think it costs two yellow.
Yeah, 2 yellow.
Like yeah. So that card too it's no joke, because you can literally take all your opponent's combo options off the field, because they can't combo certain cards, if they're in rest mode. So to be able to just bypass, like, it has so much flexibility. That's what I love about it, especially with yellow. Offensively, if you're trying to go in for game, you can rest all your opponent's stuff so they can't combo, and then kind of go in for the game. Or if you want to go offensively but not think you're going to win that turn, you can just rest your opponent's battle cards and start picking them off, so they can only combo with the hand. Use that with like Mecha Frieza to blow up 2 cards, and like it's just so many different cool lines of play. Like, it's
definitely
absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and that's always been, I think, Yellow's most powerful effect is their extra cards. It seems to be always the thing that they kind of strive on and that they take advantage of. And so this set is no different. I mean, like you said, you just named 2 of the extra cards. They're honestly going to change the game. I mean, the I think it's called Death Razor or whatever, the one that kills that card is probably the best KO spell we have in the game. I mean, it's absurd. And I think it's really going to change the way that that the games kind of interact and the way things play.
Agreed. And I feel so bad for Yellow a lot, because a lot of times, like, the extra cards are so good, so people just end up using the extra cards as opposed to the actual cards itself. And it's like, Yellow, like, you guys kind of suck, but we'll just take your extra cards and put them into our deck, kind of thing. So, like, a lot of people playing the Crusher Balls even in, like, right now, just to counter, like, God Break, Beerus, etc. So
no, for sure. No,
hopefully it gets out of that and just actually can find home. I mean, it's in a mono style, hopefully you kind of see that.
Yeah, I'd say that's actually one thing that I would say that I really want them to do for set 3, and that is kind of focus a little bit more on mono-color decks. And so maybe give out a new mechanic or a new keyword that like benefits if like all your stuff is, if all your energy is the same color or something, something that promotes a mono blue or mono color deck, because I feel like right now there really isn't that much. I mean, we have the Vegeta leader that kind of benefits you from playing mono, and that's really it. We don't really have that many things that kind of benefit you from doing that, and I would really like to see that going forward. I think it's something that's kind of a little bit lacking with this game, and I think Jordan's deck kind of pointed that out, where it's like I can just take the 3 best cards in the game, or 3 best colors, and just put them together, and I have one of the best decks. And I think moving forward, I would like to see some more synergy in just the colors themselves.
Agreed.
All right, so let's move into our last topic now, guys, which is judging. And so this is kind of a very, I guess, broad topic, and we're not going to go too much into it today. But there's a couple things we want to talk about. I'm going to let Aaron talk mostly about this because I think he's has a lot more experience judging. But this weekend we both judged an event. I judged, event locally. He judged one too. Next week we're going to talk a lot more about that. We're going to talk more about, we're having a special guest that we're bringing in. I'll let Aaron talk about him. But then we're going to all three sit down and just kind of, BS about judging and some mistakes we see. But one thing we really wanted to talk about is let everybody know that the judging exam thing is coming up very soon. So Aaron, why don't you take it away and kind of tell everyone about it?
Yeah. So in November, the Budokai Card Club, that's mainly for members, store owners, and such. Where you register for tournaments and report to tournaments and whatnot. It's going to be open up for players so that way they can take a judge test, which is something that I think that the game needs because, again, judging is, I would say, the backbone of any card game. You go into an event, there's no judge, people don't know what to do or how the format's going to be. The event's a mess, everyone leaves upset, had a bad experience, they don't want to play the game anymore. So to be able to have a judge program to make sure we have really good qualified judges and I think the judge role has to take more precedence instead of just being good at rulings, but also a community builder to really be a pillar for the game, to really make sure that, they set the standard of how they want their environment to be. I know a lot of people playing the game say like, oh, we have these type of players who like make it really unfun for me to play. Well, I think it's the judge's duty when certain players are acting a certain way to kind of step in and be like, hey, we don't want to, I appreciate you guys, playing the game and everything, but, we want to make sure that you guys operate with like integrity and stuff like that, or whatever the case may be, to really set like the tone of the community in whatever local scene that they're in, and as well as being able to be an aid for new players that may come in and have no idea about the game. So the judge program is going to be launched in November. They're going to be exclusive judge promos for those. I think from the looks of it, it looks like it's going to be like the tournament pack promos that players would get, but I think it would probably just be like 4 promos, one of each color, but not necessarily like the 8 that we're getting. I think it's like 4 selected ones, but nonetheless.
Yeah, one of them is the Red Goku, which is a big deal. I mean, that's a money card. I mean, that's a big deal.
So it's cool that they're seeing that certain cards are worth something, and it makes it easier to help the secondary market for players to kind of not spend an arm and a leg in their firstborn to get one card. So, so I think that's felt very helpful. So that's going to really also help a lot of other people who may not play the game because they whether they like it or they have like other games that they're interested in judging. It really also gives people a home to find a place where they can kind of fit in and belong, in the sense that, hey, not everyone's a player who want to play the game competitively. Not everyone wants to collect. Everyone has kind of the different roles that they I guess would fit in best for them, and I think judging is another example of that.
No, I mean, I tell you, to kind of, talk a little more about what you said earlier, one of the biggest things that will destroy a community is for players to feel like they've been cheated. That happens all the time. I see that. And as soon as people think they've been cheated, they almost immediately lose interest in the game. And so that's kind of what the judges are there to do, right? They're there to do things fairly. And that's another reason, I think why me and you both are taking the stance on the leaks. I see more people talking about the leaks. Again, guys, feel free to talk about them. I'm not trying to shut you guys up. I just want to kind of keep addressing the question. And that is, I think if you promote the leaks and you it's kind of like you're justifying people being cheated. And I think it's the same thing with the judges, like we were talking about. Anytime that you kind of people feel like they've been cheated, it can really hurt a community. And so I think that's one of the judges' big responsibilities. I know in my my tournament that I ran this weekend on Saturday, the first thing I told everyone, I knew we had 4 players that were brand new to the game. They were super interested in the game. They've played other card games before, but they were very interested, and this is their first event. So they get in, they start playing, and I was like, guys, here's the deal. If I hear anybody being mean to new players or people for asking questions, like, you're out. I'm sorry, but like, I want to promote this community. I want new players to feel welcome, and you make these players feel welcome, or you can leave. And if you don't like that, then I'll give you your promo pack now, and you're welcome to leave. But I want people to enjoy the game, and I want them to really take new players on their wings and teach them. I mean, the thing about this game is the more skilled player is going to win 95% of the time, in my opinion. And so there's no reason not to help new players and kind of put them on the right track and make them feel like they're having a good time.
Yeah, agreed. Like I said, judging, and this is like again in the unwritten rule book of human decency, right? Where a judge is not just there to kind of enforce the rules or help people with rulings. There's like an unspoken rule with judges too, because you're interacting with people, and that's something that the rule book doesn't teach you, right? Like they don't tell you on page so and so if someone is draw an extra card or is accusing someone of cheating, what do you do? They don't have a rule for that,
Right, right.
So a lot of the rulings, from judges, a lot of it's going to be not in the rule book. It's going to just be personal experience and how you handle and how you deal with people. You see it all the time with just customer service and other places. How you handle a certain situation, how you assess it, how you address it, and how you just kind of execute your plan to make sure that it's fair. And then, some people might like it or some people might not, but to know that you're kind of presented in a respectable manner. And like you said, if people kind of giving new players a hard time because they're new, that's creating an environment that people don't want to be in. Why, if people are cheating and, as a judge, you're friends with some of your friends cheating, so it's okay, and you kind of laugh about it because they're going to give you some packs at the end. That's something that's not acceptable. So judges have to really make sure that they don't put up with nonsense, and when they see certain things happening, either like talk to the person privately after the event and be like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but you just want to say like going forward, this is not what we like or so and so, because again, players wouldn't play if the community is toxic and mean in terms of locally, not like in the online group. That's a different thing. But to know like judges have that power to really set that tone and pace for players coming in and the future of the game.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else too. Is I've seen a lot of players and judges too. I mean, other games really rag on people for asking questions. Like for example, in our event, we had a guy that he didn't know, and his entire play group, I think he had 3 or 4 people there. They all thought that the zero cost combo card lasted the entire turn on the leader. They thought, it says on the card the entire turn. They thought it was like Sensu Bean, and when you played on the leader, it lasted the entire turn. And, I walked up to him, I told him about it, and I was like, hey, dude, listen, we thought the same thing. The first time at Gen Con, a lot of us thought that's how it worked. You know what I mean? We all thought that way. So I was like, hey, it's not just you that messed it up. Everybody gets that wrong, right? That's a very common thing. But here's the ruling from Bandai. Here's what we just, the community has decided is supposed to happen. Don't feel bad for messing up. Everybody messes up. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like judges have a really bad habit of walking up and be like, did you mess that up? Well, you're an idiot. Here's the right, it's like, no, just walk up and, like you said, they're people too. And the rule book doesn't teach you how to socially interact with people. And sometimes that can be difficult, but remember guys, everybody's going to mess up some point. I know there's times where we've messed up rulings and messed up ways too. So, make sure you treat everybody with respect, and that's how we grow a community.
Exactly. Simple as that, no need to, if kind of get up in arms about it. If someone doesn't know, they don't know, and then you just show them, and then tell them why. And I always make sure I try to have my rulebook manual, like the PDF and like the FAQs on deck. So
that's a good tip.
And as well as like a backup source. So if you have like kind of like a buddy system. So if you have like a good friend who's also a judge, you also want to kind of have them on speed dial just to kind of verify and kind of make sure like you're doing the right ruling. And with the whole judges community, that's why we have the Judges Sanctuary Facebook group as well, which is like a sub group of the main group, just because for people who are interested in being judges or want to know about certain rulings, it's a way for us to kind of iron sharpens iron kind of thing, and really help us grow better as judges. So that way we realize, I ruled this wrong last week, and I'll tell them this week why they were right or something like that.
Right,
and
right.
Kind of all help us be better together as judges.
Yeah, I'll tell you, one thing I did was, when I was a judge for Magic, I made a mistake on a Magic ruling, and it was a very like obscure rule. I wasn't sure, and I looked it up, and I always do this thing where if I'm not sure, I'm like, hey guys, to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure, but here's what I think, and I explained my thinking to the players, and they agreed. They were like, that makes perfect sense, Dusty. Yeah, definitely, that's what we did. Well, when I went home, I started researching it super hardcore. It took me forever to figure it out, and actually I had a friend that actually pointed me into the right direction, and I was wrong. And so the next week when I saw him, I was like, hey dude, I bought you a booster pack. I'm sorry I messed up. Also, here's the right ruling. I'm really sorry that I kind of let you down. And he was like, dude, no problem at all. Thank you very much for letting us know that. Same thing with this weekend. I had a very similar situation that popped up that me and you just talked about, where during my event, someone asked what happened if you bad ring lasered Vegeta. And I told him, I was like, I'm pretty sure the Vegeta goes to the drop area. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty confident by reading the card, by reading the rules, this is what happens. And he was like, makes sense to me. Both players agreed on it. That's how we played it. When I went into the Danny Hype tournament, I actually judged that event as well. And I had one call the entire event, and it was the same call. It was like, hey, like, what happens? And I was like, I'm going to double check. And so I messaged you on Facebook. I was like, Aaron, man, is this what happens? And he was like, yep, that's what happens. And I was like, okay, cool. I feel better now. And I told both players, I was like, that is what happens. And we resolved it. But yeah, don't ever be afraid to ask somebody that you respect, that maybe might know more about the game, or just to double check yourself, right? Because like, I was pretty sure I was right, but I wanted to double check with you. And so like you said, having a kind of a buddy system is very important as a judge as well.
Yeah, and again, we're all human. We're all like learning, growing together. So, if we make a mistake, also be quick to own it. Like you said, just giving the person the booster pack, whatever compensation or thing you can kind of do to rectify, like if you messed up. And that just shows that, you really care about them. You care about what you do, because you show like, hey, I really care about judging, and I'm not going to have so much pride to be like, well, I was wrong, but he doesn't have to know that, just being able to own up to it. And, that really shows growth for you as a person, as well as like what you do and how you care for the game and what you take pride in.
No, definitely. I mean, you're 100% right. No, 100% sure. Is there anything else you want to touch base on with judges before we get to questions?
No, bring on the questions. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so let's go back up to our main thing. All right, guys. So now let's go ahead and ask questions. If you guys have any questions, anything you want to talk about, let us know. Go ahead and post them up. We'll answer as many as we can before me and him both pass out. Also, before we get into the questions, like as you guys are typing them up, I want to go ahead and make a special announcement. So one thing that I wanted to do, and I'm definitely doing it. I talked to Danny. I talked to a bunch of people about it, during the tournament. But I'm going to actually have a kitchen table invitational event, and that's going to run from November, the entire month of November. And I'm inviting essentially some players that I see have done very well. I've invited Anthony and his crew. I guess the Four Horsemen is what they're called. I invited Danny Hype. I invited Jordan, who made the Ginyu list, and I have some more invites I'm sending out as well. And my goal is to get a bunch of the best players that we currently have on Octagon and kind of have them all play and see who the better player is. Now, right now, it's just for bragging rights. The winner will get Sensu Bean trophy that I'm going to hand main, because everyone always makes fun of me because I like Sensu Bean. Apparently, it's a terrible card. Everybody keeps laughing at me. And so I'm making the Sensu Bean trophy. I want to mail it to the winner, and I'll be covering it completely on my YouTube channel. And what I'll be doing is I'll essentially have a guest commentator on for every match, and we'll just talk about the game, talk about the players. And so I thought it'd be a really fun way to get the community together and get people to see some of these best players playing. Now, if you're interested in the event and you want to get into the event yourself, every month Danny will be hosting a event as well. Now, this event that he hosts is completely available for everybody. Anybody can join, anybody can play, and the winner of that event will get an invite into the invitational. And so this month, the winner of his event, the guy who made the Eddie, the guy who made the mono blue Vegeta deck, got an invite to this as well. And so if you guys go to the Danny's events, you play hard, you can get in with these top players too and kind of prove yourself and show players how good you are. And if you do a good job, then you'll keep getting invitations. And so that's kind of the special announcement. It's something I'll be doing every single month. And I wanted to start with set 2, and I thought it'd be just, again, a really cool way to get people into the game.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. I think that's really, really cool to really just kind of show that like devotion and like also like good competitive spirit between people, just friends, just playing and seeing who's the best, and good sportsmanship, which I like.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's one thing that I think me and you both are really kind of into. We really want to make sure that everyone's has good sportsmanship and playing. I thought this would be a really cool way to get kind of the best players together playing. And again, I'll tell you, this is the first game I've played where there's been so much, I guess, trash talk. Right? I mean, it's most of it's friendly, but it's just I've never seen so many people just kind of trash talk each other and get hyped up. And it is so funny because when you see the event, everyone's just so excited to see each other. I know at Gen Con, we were all like, you guys are going down, we're wrecking everybody. And at the end of the event, we were all laughing and having a good time. It was just, this game is just so much fun. And I'll tell you, it's been one of the most competitive games I've ever played. And honestly, it's really just, the backbone of this community is just amazing. I mean, I've never really been a part of a community that's been just so awesome and so, supportive, at least the competitive events that I've been to.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just good all around. Just like I said, I don't mind the trash talking. It gets to the point where if it's insulting people, that's a different story.
Right.
But if someone's saying like they're the best, let them all. It's good. It's good stuff. It's good fun. I don't mind it. Just make sure you don't have to be like, I'm better than you and you suck and you should have never been born. It's like, what? It's like, no, you can say that you're better than me. It's fine. But and it has to be like, then obviously if you don't know someone, you probably might take it a little bit more offensively than two friends who kind of, say it. But I like it. It's all fun, and that's what it's all about. We're playing a game, and we all want to be the best. And I mean, think about it, like in the show, they always trying to like Vegeta and Goku always trying to like outdo one another, so it's all fun in games, that's all.
I'll tell you what, that's actually an awesome comparison, using the show is like, because it's like, honestly, guys, the better community we have, the more supportive we are to newer players, right? The stronger opponents we get. And the stronger opponents we get, the more better we get as players as well, right? We get stronger opponents, that's how you get better as a player. And so that's actually an awesome comparison, if we just have a really, tight-knit community that we support and help grow, then we're only going to get better as players as well. So that's actually an awesome comparison. I want to use that from now on. I think that's going to
Hey, it's fine. Just give me royalties and we're good.
I will. TDMCP says, casual reminder, Golden Frieza is trash. What do you think about that? Do you think Golden Frieza is actually trash, Aaron? What do you think?
No, I think Golden Frieza is awesome. I think my friend made a like Scott Dashio, and my friend Shady Penguin. Shout out to Shady Penguin. My brother-in-law, Jonathan Davino. I keep saying my friend. It's just I knew him for like 20-something years, and he's been my brother-in-law for a year and some.
Sure.
So it takes some time to get used to, but nonetheless, he made a green, yellow, golden Frieza that obviously utilized Gotenks. It was underneath the blue, green Goku in terms of untapping, because Goku can just do it when you attack, as opposed to Frieza who needs to sack a card. But I love Golden Frieza for the fact that you have draw power, and then you can also use Bloodlust as well as
Crusher Ball.
Well, Bloodlust and Crusher Ball, and then utilizing setting up plays for King Cold and things like that.
Mecha Frieza, yeah, so get that in there.
The only obviously downfall is that they can't awaken early enough. So I can see why Jordan decided to play the Ginyu over that, because you still have the benefits of the Crusher Ball and the Bloodlust, but you can awaken faster. So
yeah.
But I think being able to untap energy is a really good thing to have. I wish all colors had that, not just blue. But that's something different. But I like Golden Frieza a lot. I don't think he's trash. I think players don't really see the power.
Yeah, I think my thing I'll say about Golden Frieza, and again, I think everybody knows my take on saying that cards are trash. I'm never okay with that. I mean, it's okay to say that, but I try to keep an open mind when it comes to cards, because I don't want to be surprised. But I will say that I think the problem with Golden Frieza necessarily is that Goku just does his job better. And I think I think that's kind of the problem right now. But I do think that, and that's something I was a little bit let down with these yellow spoilers, since we're kind of talked about that as well. I really wish that he got some more tools, because I think if he could just get more cards like Goldo and Avenging Frieza, just more like utility Frieza's army cards that come into play and do something, and then he can sacrifice those to ready the energy. He could be extremely powerful, because his energy isn't it doesn't have to be blue like Goku's does. It can be
right. That's another thing too.
That's extremely powerful. And so again, I think he's right on the cusp of getting there, but I do think he is a little bit weaker than like Goku and some of the other leaders for sure.
Yeah, I think I actually might tinker around with it again, but I guess any other questions?
Yeah, we got a couple more here. We have Jordan says, "Are Dusty and Aaron MVPs?" I think yes. I think that's the. I think that is true.
No, Jordan, you're a real MVP. Boy,
Jordan is making that Ginyu. Thanks, buddy. I've had a lot of fun playing against
just
it.
On it, just you cooked up the goo and everyone's eating it up. I'm gonna call him like the chef, because it's a really good deck. I mean, I think Pat O'Neill was the one. I guess one of his teammates also kind of helped and inspired the build. If not, crafted the skeleton for it, and they kind of like tweaked upon it. But then you pilot with like a really good player like Jordan, and then you get like free wins pretty much.
Oh, I'd say, I like playing this game a lot, but I love making decks for this game. And so, honestly, I love making decks and seeing other people play them. That to me, that's way more rewarding than me playing the decks. So yeah, I definitely agree. And Jordan, like I said, thank you so much for bringing this deck up that just crushes me every time I play against it. That's awesome, man. Thank you for just smashing my dreams. What else do we got? Also, new Trunks is absurd. Yeah, New Trunks is very good. We talked a little bit about him. I think maybe last show we talked a little bit about Trunks Leader, but yeah, very good. Very powerful effect to draw a card every time you use a combo card. Well, I guess the first time you use a combo card. If it was every time, it'd actually be just absurd. All right, guys. Anybody else have any more questions before we go, guys? I don't want to leave any questions out. I think I have one more announcement. I said it at the beginning of the show. I want to say at the end of the show. This will be on iTunes eventually, guys. I promise I'll get it up there somehow. Again, I'm not really familiar with the iTunes process, so I don't know how long it's going to take. I know nothing about it. But I'm going to not dedicate this weekend because I have events to go to and stuff and cover this weekend. But the next weekend I'll be free, and I'm going to really kind of try to get it done next weekend as well. So that's a big thing. I know a lot of people's been asked about iTunes. It will be on iTunes. We also had someone say... sup guys, thank you for all you do. That was Let's Rob Jack. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you guys do. That's what matters. We're here because we have an awesome community that supports us. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. We might be here, but we'd just be talking to nobody and we would look really weird. But
zero chat. I think we see something here about sleeves, regarding sleeves, like double sleeving. Double sleeving is allowed. So I don't know about triple sleeving. Wouldn't go that far.
What's triple sleeving?
So you have the card. You have a not an oversleeve, but like a fit card.
Yeah, like a penny sleeve that you put in, like the side loading.
Yeah, that basically like fits just right for that card. Mm-hmm. And then you have I think like an you have a regular sleeve. And then you have like an oversized sleeve above that one. So like I've seen people like quadruple sleeve their deck. I don't even know how they find
like a top loader after that.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I have no idea, but but I know double sleeving is allowed. So that's fine. As for triple sleeving, I don't know about that.
I didn't even know there was oversleeves. I mean, I knew about perfect fits and then the normal sleeves, but I didn't even realize there was oversleeve. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have some oversleeve for my like couple of my decks, only because the sleeves that you get can sometimes, especially like custom. I would say custom made sleeves, but more like character sleeves for certain things. For example, like the Gen Con sleeves. I'm pretty sure like those will probably break easily if you keep shuffling them. Not to mention that
kind of makes sense. So it's like a sleeve for your sleeve. It's like to protect your sleeves. That actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah, mainly because like especially rarity sleeves that you probably wouldn't be able to get easily obtained. So like obviously your Ultra Pros, your Player's Choice, your KMCs, your Dragon Shields, you can buy dozens of those, but you're not really going to get like top 8 sleeves like Dragon Ball Super sleeves. So they want to kind of preserve the sleeves, so they have the over sleeves over it.
The most layers I've seen is 6. There's no way you have 6 sleeves. What do you do? Like, what's the 6th layer? You just like put them in concrete and like. I don't understand that. It's like unbelievable. We'll get to your question now because it's actually a question I want to talk a little bit about. I talked about it a little bit during Danny's stream, and I hope Aaron has a different take than me, so we can have a little bit of discussion about it. But it says, can we talk about this stupid going first rule? Okay, and so here's what I'll say about this. I don't think it matters. In my mind, going first, like the way that you determine who goes first, is the same thing as just the way that it normally works. And so in other games, usually what happens is you roll or do paper, rock, scissors, or flip a coin, whatever. And the winner of that system chooses if they want to go first or second. Now in Dragon Ball Super card game, it's different. It's whoever wins that system has to go first. They get no choice. There's no you can't decide to go second or whatever. You have to go first. And I've seen so many people talk about how unfun, like that it doesn't make any sense and it ruins the game and all this stuff. And I think it's just horse crap. Honestly, me hoping that I win the roll so that I can choose who goes first or second is the same thing as losing the roll and going second or winning the roll and going first. So, for example, if I want to go first, if my game plan is I'm playing aggro and I want to go first for whatever reason, then me saying, man, I hope I win the roll so I go first is the same thing in other card games as saying, man, I hope I win the roll so I can choose to go first. Like I don't get the difference to me. I mean, there is this like niche situation to where if one player wants to go first, another player wants to go second, how it can like get mixed up if like the player that wants to go second wins the roll. So then like essentially both players don't choose what they want to do. But what do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I can see why they have that. I mean, I like the rule because then it allows you as a player to adapt to your game plan quickly, knowing like, okay, if I go first, like what do I kind of keep? If I go second, what do I keep? As opposed to like, okay, let me get advantage all the time and then win the roll. The problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! it got to a point where multiple formats is where you won games literally by winning the die roll. Like you can imagine just sitting down and you winning the die roll and knowing that your chances of winning increased over like 60%. You know, it's insane. So to be able to, if you win the roll and you have to go first, I think that forces players to adapt more, and adjust their game plan, knowing that there will be a card down and kind of adjust in that way. So I like the rule a lot. Again, I don't think like you should always have players choose, because they obviously choose what benefits them, and that just makes it so that way it just literally comes down to like random luck of like, okay, when you win the roll, because we don't know what's going to come down later on in certain sets, right? So hopefully obviously the game stays pretty balanced, but let's say it gets a little bit crazy and you winning the roll, you meaning that you winning the match majority of the time, then obviously that's not going to be fun, because whoever wins just has to they just choose to go whatever that benefits them so that we can win more often. So I think just long story short, just being able to adapt depending on whatever, if you go first or second, I think it's better as opposed to the person just choosing to get the benefit all the time.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I don't think it matters too much. Like I said, there's certain niche situations where it can cause complications where, like, if you want to go second and that player has to go first and the player who wants to first goes second, that's kind of weird. But honestly, like you said, I don't think that's weird as much as it's just balanced, right? That's how the game should be. You shouldn't always get what you want, or, one player shouldn't always get what they want, And so I think it's fine. And honestly, I notice myself a lot of times when I'm designing decks now too, I have a plan for when I go first and a plan when I go second. You know what I mean? Like I have cards in my deck, ready to go, and I'm starting to think of different lines of play. Like if I'm the first player and I'm against this type of deck, I want to do this, and if I'm the second player, I want to do this, and that's good. That's like a good meta, right? That's like making me think. It's making me design my decks that way, and I think I don't see it. I mean, honestly, but just like in its core principle, I don't see that big of a difference between choosing who goes when you win the roll or having to go first when you win the roll. Like to me, it's just it's apples and oranges to me. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, same.
Okay, it says people should be. I'll let Aaron talk a little bit about this, guys. This will probably be the last question. It's getting a little late, but they're saying that they're having a little bit of. They should be complaining about the end of turn or end of match procedure. Can you talk a little bit about the end of match procedure? What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think the way end of turn procedure, if I'm not mistaken, is if it's game 3 is tied 1-1, like during Swiss anyway, and I'm the turn player. It ends after my opponent's turn, and if my opponent is time is called and he's the active player, time would end after he finishes. Then if no one could finish, it'll be a draw. What I would like to see would be, that's the thing, because we also tried 0, 1, 2, 3 turn procedure, and even that can take a really long time. Sure. Because each turn in between can add like an extra 20 minutes. And at that point, you might as well just have, 90-minute rounds as opposed to 60, because in between 0, 1, 2, 3, where everyone gets 2 turns, a lot of stuff can happen. Certain things can. It's not as clear cut as just like, okay, attack, because now your time is called and you're a little bit more under pressure. You're kind of thinking closer to your lines of play. So end of time procedure, again, it's anything in time is just not fun for any card game. It's always hard to find that perfect balance of what would work. I think both players getting a draw regardless of life, I think is fair, because certain leaders drive on having lower life.
I think that's actually required, honestly, because like you said, I mean, we don't know what's coming in the future, and if there's a leader that wants to like Vegeta or Ginyu that likes to hurt themselves to get card advantage, I mean, that could make them not even be in the meta anymore, because people are afraid to use those leader abilities because they don't want to lose the in the game or in turn procedure or whatever. So I agree. I don't think they can go by life total, because I don't think it's an accurate representation of who's actually winning at all. Kabas, stuff like that. There's a lot of things that affect the life. Also, if they ever put in cards that add cards to your life, you could just win the game that way, which doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So I agree 100% that to stop that. Also, like you said too, going into the 1, 2, 3 or 0, 1, 2 is players will take more time when they realize the game is on the line, right? Because like you're going to slow down, you're going to make sure that your plays make sense because you only have two more turns. That's a big deal too. Like you're right, that can definitely slow down the process of the game.
Yeah. Like I said, it's really hard to find a perfect solution. And good point that you brought earlier about, if they add cards to life, that would make the game even longer. So imagine if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, and I play a card that lets me add a card to my life, and then so on and so forth. Like, okay, now that's extra stuff. Now my opponent has to kind of break through for them to win. So that can really take a longer time in itself to just, finish the game. So I think just, again, the time can definitely probably be maybe tweaked a bit, but I think right now is probably one of the most fair things, simply because it saves time for everybody, knowing that, even if they say take like 2 minutes in between each turn, if no winner is declared, it would be a draw for both players anyway. So, you could have easily saved, and it all depends on the game state.
Right. Right. No, definitely. And like you said, too, I mean, one thing that I think players have to understand, and that's with anything, is there's never going to be a perfect solution. And it frustrates me, and every time a solution comes up or someone talks about something, people love to point, flaws at it. Like there isn't flaws with everything, right? And so, whether it's best of one or best of three, whether it's one turn procedure versus another, there's always going to be flaws in one of them. And the best thing we can do as tournament organizers and as the community is just pick the one that has the most, I guess, the less amount of flaws that we can live with, right? Because you're never going to be perfect, right? You're never going to come up with a system that everyone agrees on. It's unfeasible to think that. So,
yeah. Mm.
Okay, guys. Well, I think that's it. Guys, don't forget. I should have done a better job of doing this, but don't forget to check out Aaron on his YouTube channel, Mr. Waffles. Again, it's right down here at the bottom of the stream. It has his little face. You can click it and go straight to his website, his YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go there, subscribe, like all the stuff. He's a fantastic content creator, as well as a tournament organizer, as well as an admin, as well as a judge. There's anything this guy doesn't do. I mean, is there anything you're not amazing at, Aaron?
I don't know.
He's like going to sleep early on Wednesdays is probably one of them. And guys, again, you can check me out on YouTube. You can check my links right down below. It's KitchenTableMeta. Check me out. Let me know what you think about the cast, guys. If you have any suggestions of what me and Aaron can do better on future casts, please let us know, guys, because we're doing this for you. This is supposed to be a cast for you. We want to come in here and answer your questions, talk about the topics you guys want to talk about, and make this a weekly event that you guys can get a lot out of.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Good stuff for sure. And I appreciate, of course, KitchenTableMeta and, just all the effort Dusty's putting into this, for you guys, and we're doing it all for fun. We don't mind taking time out of our day just to really do this for you guys and really striving to make the community better. That's all.
Right, exactly, guys. All right, guys. So again, join us next week for episode 3. We'll have a special guest on here talking a lot more about judging and special calls. We'll talk about the red spoolers and maybe other topics. So, guys, again, don't forget that you can always give us suggestions on what to talk about. Again, this is your thing. This is your community. You guys let us know what we should talk about. Thanks again for having us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.